Hi, Gemini. This is your October reading. Libra season, fellow air sign, and then we enter Scorpio season at the end. However, Mars is in your sign, making quite an impact in everyone's life, from the very broad collective to the detail. It's just like you're going around and around, just doing, there's not just you, but you're also noticing how a lot more is being said, things are coming out, things that maybe aren't even necessary coming out, things that might annoy some of you, stir things up in some of you, and for others of you, you don't mind the energy. This is a lot of cards, okay? We're gonna go through them though. And then if you want a more even more of a look, sorry, my two cats are running around, but you understand that, even deeper look at the month and at the cards, where you can actually learn a little bit too through it, is in my Patreon link below. And then contact me to work one-on-one is also below. You recognize what is very obvious now. It's very obvious because it is a time where you can really call this a very precise end and beginning. This time in your life, whether, and this is a very, I think, a personal thing, something that you've been really working towards for a while. You've been doing, you've been letting things go and moving on in certain areas of your life. And then now is kind of like this bigger moment. It's like the build up to something, the climax, dare I say. So you're kind of looking at this time where you see where you're grateful and but you also see where maybe you've been held back or held down to a certain structure. You're always also taking a look at what you value, how you value it, but you're willing to make big cuts right now. You're willing to take the Ace of Swords and the Ace of Wands, and they're towards each other. So you may find yourself even face to face with what you want in your creative life, and then what you need in your boundary life, or what you need, literally what you really need. Maybe both of those things, they come head to head and almost bring you to this ultimatum. They bring you to this moment of your life where you know you've worked very hard and you still will. However, Libra season is showing you how you work doesn't need to be this physically exhausting. And for some of you, it's just the running around. For some of you, it's just the running around in your mind. And it's this season that shows you how much you spend unnecessary energy on things in your mind, when you could be using that energy instead of to create situations that maybe aren't happening, or turn it into art. Find a way to utilize what's in your brain to turn into art, or realize that it's taking up this space and it's not giving you ultimately what you need in the end. Yes, it may, and for some of you, it may feel like you're romanticizing. Like, it doesn't need to just be about a loved one, but it could be about the way your life is going. It could be about a friendship. It could be about a new relationship. A newer relationship. So you're realizing that the work that you put in before got you here, but it also has you notice what isn't up to par. You are getting a lot of what you want. So it's almost like this is needing you to notice it because it's just no longer belongs, or it's needing you to notice, this part is needing you to notice it because you don't need to do it in a way that's very abrasive either. It's just, you realize you're confidently moving into a situation that you've been there, done that before. You've almost been there too many times before, and you don't want it may be, hard to admit, maybe hard to acknowledge at first, but it's really important. It's important because the second two, it's so funny, the first two face each other, then they face each other again. We have 10 under 10 here. Is that you'll see, and I was telling Aries a little bit about this, is you'll see the synchronicities come together, and you're someone that's not unaware of these moments and these like divine connections in your life, but now it just becomes a lot more obvious, especially with specific questions. And you know that some of you have these specific questions that you've been asking, and it's making you realize that in order to have not only what you desire, what you're worth, ultimately, it's going to take a different type of work. It's more to do with how you can handle yourself. And it doesn't mean, again, it's more personal. This is more personal. It's like you're going to have to handle yourself in a way that maybe you handle things with others better. Like, why would you handle things with this person better than yourself, right? So you're noticing where maybe unfair contracts have happened, where maybe you're giving too much attention to and needing to put it, again, in this Ace of Wands energy. It's like there's so much room open for you to do it, yet you keep like, it's like clawing at air or something. But this month is also giving you these things in a way where it's not hurtful, or the intention's not hurtful. It's only for your confidence. And you may be getting these very important messages in a very personal moment in your life, and it's sweetly. Maybe someone does something for you unexpectedly and it hits you in a way where you just were surprised, and it gives you so much more, maybe confidence than you've had to go into a situation that you know that you have to go into. And what you find from that place going into Scorpio season around the eclipse is you find it's almost like going into one of those meditations about yourself, about your soul, about your child, about whatever aspect is calling you right now. This could be about the worthy self, and seeing that self and seeing that person who you know is there, but for some reason certain things get like almost cage it in. So it's like Ace of Swords, and I know that we don't have the Ace of Swords out, but what's happening and what happens after that is that you're finally defeated in a way where it's self-acceptance. You're not trying to force yourself to become something, not that you do, but it's an easeful transition in your life, easier than it has been. And it's only because you've maybe had to face this before time and time again. Again, we talked about that too. And what you may find is that this way, it's very poetic, it's very Venusian. By the time that Libra enters Venus towards the end of the season, you will probably feel it even more. You might even look around at life and it may feel like poetry to you. And it's like in a way where these things that and maybe these new boundaries that you've created, and these moments that you've created, and certain things that you've built up in your life, it could be something very physical, it could be your life, the things you built in your life, you start to feel the impact that you've made on yourself. You've starting to feel the impact so strongly that you want to express things that you normally don't express or normally come harder to you. So your willingness to be that open allows your heart to break in a way that's soft, and it's not caused by something bad. It's when you're crying because you're happy. So these different waves flow through you this month, and you may find yourself in the beginning of the month in more communication with people, and then by the end of the month it's a lot of communication with yourself. You might want to do some things on your own, or you may find yourself walking on your own and even talking to yourself, something I can attest to sometimes. You may find yourself just wanting to be surrounded by the beauty because it's the only thing that actually understands. And I know that's poetic in itself, but it's the one thing you can connect with without having to explain yourself, especially by you seeing like everyone almost feels like you, because the Mars in Gemini is pushing people, but it's almost burning people's voices out. And you're, by the end of the month, you almost don't want to even explain yourself to anyone. You just want to have one of those moments that you makes what every air signs know their life their own. It's this special moment that you can have with life, and it feeds you in a way that nothing else can, that there's this extra, sometimes there's this very substantial extra spark in you. And each sign has that too, but we all get it in our own ways. And you seem to want to absorb these moments more. And you also have something strong in place, not just the boundaries you've created, but maybe with those boundaries you've created, you and your partner have maybe changed together. If you're single, you're calling someone into your life that fits that structure, that makes sense to that structure, that wants to support that structure, and doesn't want to hurt it or harm it or second guess what you've already built for yourself and what you've already done. It's just something that really wants to add to it. So that could be this other soft way of you receiving what you need to this month, because there's a lot of giving and receiving. There's a lot of balanced, you're like, your energy is different, so people then absorb you differently. If that changes, especially if there could be someone you want to give, or someone that wants to give a lot of love, flowers, attention to you, because they feel very confident about what has already happened. They feel confident about the work they've done. You may want to acknowledge them more, so it might be this very mutual feeling in your life, and you feel even grateful to have one of these moments, because I don't think people let themselves be seen in that way all the time. But there's this different kind of softness, there's this different kind of energy that is being allowed within you and allowed in these moments, in these little pockets in your life. And again, you're going to hit this climax in this very overabundant amount of energy in the beginning of the season, and you won't understand what to do with it, and you're just like, oh my god, is this how Libras feel? Like, I don't know what to do with all this energy. But then days to come, moments to come, it shows you exactly why you've needed all of that energy. And what Libras can tell you, or Libra season can tell you, is that this is gonna be, it's like taking a deep breath in, because this next moment is going to be hard. I just need to take a little bit more in and release. And it's for you. It's for you to know that that's your innate energy. That's your normal energy. You can feel that way whenever you give yourself that room to grow, to have space, to change, to even recommit to something. So ultimately, throughout the course of this month, you'll be finding yourself and meeting yourself in a way that's slightly energetically different. And you feel it, however, it's also reflected back to you this month, giving you opportunities to let it shine this month. It's like in use everywhere. It's like in that part of like those like feel-good movies, and sorry if you don't like love those, but those feel-good movies where you just, that person's energy just changes, and it almost feels like unreal. However, maybe by the end of the movie you feel like, oh, I even have that energy, I can feel it now. So, or in a very empowering movie, a movie that takes you through many different situations and stories, and that thread of change and that thread of, or that realization just makes it so much better. So you find yourself just face to face with a lot of these moments this month, and it helps you in so many ways that by the end of the month hopefully you'll feel grateful to not only be yourself, but to be able to absorb these experiences in this way. And to be confident where you are vulnerable, where something's not as strong as it maybe once was, or it's not something you thought was important and it is becoming more important as you go through this process. And what breaks your heart is in the softest way is also something that's just opening your heart. So you may find that you have heart opening moments and you need that solid rock to lean on, and you have that in your relationship now, a significant relationship, whether it is with a partner or a friend. You find yourself being able to feel okay to build and see your future with more solidity. You can still change things here and there, but there's just something different about it. Again, there's a lot going on. Bottom of the deck is the Ace of Cups. Lots of abundance. What you need and what you want are coming to you, and by next month it will you'll just be like kind of drawing it in even more, because there's some things that you don't really need along the way, and this is where you're going through like the foggy forest. It's before it gets spooky out there. All right, Gemini. Again, all information to work with me is below, as well as the second part and extended. See you next month.